specifically. So
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, doing pretty well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Uh, yeah, I've been playing Hitman Freelancer recently. Was
Oh, nice.
getting more. Yeah, like it's fun. I go back to that game, and I'm always better and more aware of the different routes in the maps. And I started equating it almost to like I was thinking in a Dark Souls game, like the parts of a Dark Souls game that I don't enjoy, which is like watching a boss, like sort of learning the move patterns of a boss, and then getting better at like navigating the attacks and vulnerabilities of a certain boss. It sort of feels like to me like each level in Hitman Freelancer is like kind of like a boss fight in some way, where you're learning like the difficult parts and how to like read the level and sort of because I'll be like flying around the level, like sort of I knowing like know loosely where the guards are probably are. And then when I zero in on like the room where I need to get something done, I'll like sort of flash sort of that like wall vision where you can sort of quickly scan like, who's gonna see this, where is everybody? Like and it's kind of fun to like if you see like a stray guard somewhere, you can like sort of take them out, head into the room, like take out some other people, and then you sort of know that like those people were uh, like secluded enough that no one will find them until you sort of make an escape. But now it's fun to be like positioned, just like dropped somewhere in a level and have a target somewhere else, and just kind of quickly calculate like what is the least friction way to do it, or is there a faster way that adds a little bit of risk. But now I'm better. Like there's certain places where I can just sort of run through like a checkpoint, and I sort of know that I can make it to like a defensible corner and take out a couple guys or hide in a closet or something to wait like just long enough, and then it sort of makes it feel like you can move through the level very efficiently and kind of get where you need to go and manage the chaos. And it really feels like a back and forth like fight with the environment almost, trying to. And there's like a meta game of like completing levels one after the other, picking up like weapons along the way, picking up like timed objectives or certain like taking a risk by bringing like if there's like a get extra money by headshotting someone with a legendary weapon, you're taking a risk by bringing in like an expensive weapon. And now I think I crossed a threshold where I'm good enough now where I can take like a reasonable shot at completing the whole campaign like each time. And there's a fun thing where if I don't spend any money as I go progress, I'll end up with like $100,000. And so then like in the final mission, you'll lose half that if you fail. And so it's like $50,000 on the line. And that's like,
Uh-huh.
either one or two weapons worth of money. And so that's actually a fun way where like as I get better at the game, all I have to do is just, not buy things for longer. And then the stakes can be sort of as high as I want. I can bring in, yeah, I just, as that money gets higher, it's sort of even at easy level, you feel like there's a significance to dying here or making a mistake. But being able to sort of control how much risk you want to take, because you can always just in the next level visit a merchant and spend your money on weapons and then secure them at the main base. But that's been a fun way to sort of control the difficulty, and uh, it's a game that has like a lot of little real time things to monitor, which is pretty fun.
So like when you finish that final mission, does it just loop back around? Like you can just continue with the same like
Yeah,
run yeah,
yeah. Do you know the
you
general
never have to
layout, like
stop.
how it's, like the showdown missions and stuff?
No. Only what I've
Yeah,
watched from Leo streams, which is
yeah,
yeah, I sort of half watch, yeah, and enjoy.
yeah. There's sort of like a campaign is like a four-part thing where it starts out with like there's sort of like three missions, package of like three missions where the first two missions are probably like go in, take out one target, and extract back to your base. And the first two ones are pretty straightforward like that. And then the third one, there's like four different targets, and you don't really know which one you have to assassinate until you read like they have a hat, they have glasses, so you have to go like take a photo of each target and then compare the description until you can like sort of be reasonably sure which one to assassinate. Because if you take out the wrong one, it might cause a panic, or like a lookout, a specific person like a lookout, which is shown with like a white dot over their head, will see you, and that can cause like the real target to run to an exit, and then you have like a limited time to get to them, or else it sort of counts a failure. Uh, and if you fail, like those missions have a higher significance because if you fail them, you go all the way back to like the start of the whole campaign. But there's actually four, like to beat the whole campaign overall, you have to beat like four of those showdown missions. And so the way, like, so there's basically like two normal missions, then a showdown. Then there's like four normal missions, then a showdown. Then I think it goes like up to like the final section is like five missions with like four targets each, and then you have the final showdown where there's like 8 different suspects. I actually have a phone app where I can enter like the details into the phone app, and it'll show me like the pictures of who the target is. Like it usually shows me 2 of them. So it narrows it down from like 8 to 2, and then I can just see by their jacket or their face like if it's likely them or not. Uh, but then yeah, so I think that's the hardest it will get is sometimes you'll have like 8 different people that you don't know which one's the target until you examine them. And then there may be like a lot of people in the mission that will recognize you just no matter what disguise you're in. And if one of them sees you, then everybody starts running and it can get out of hand pretty quick. But if you basically beat that final mission, then you get a rare weapon as a reward or an amount of money if you have the weapons. And then it just starts over and you start from the beginning of the campaign. But you sort of but then you keep that money, whatever like the payout from the final mission, you'll keep that. But then to spend it, you have to go back into the first mission to like visit the guy. And there's been times when I've had like $150,000 and I go into the easiest mission and I just like slip up and then I lose like 75K or something on the first mission of the game, just trying to like go to the merchant and buy stuff and then leave and take out like one target.
Yeah. So like even if you die, like the home upgrades and stuff are all permanent. Like
home upgrades are based on like your experience level, and you just basically unlock those and they never go away. And any weapon that's like on your wall is there forever. And then there's these like 2 cases of sort of temporary-ish gear that those cases will fill up as you bring stuff back and buy stuff and collect until you die. Then they both cases empty. They're sort of like campaign temporary. But then there's a thing where if like what I do is the only weapon I ever bring into the missions is like the assassin's pistol, like the standard Agent 47 pistol. Because if you lose that, you can always, like on the 3rd mission of any campaign, you can just take out like an assassin who has one and get it back. And so it's easy to like get that weapon back for free on the 3rd mission. And so that's typically the only one that I risk because if you bring in like a sniper rifle or the only thing is sometimes it'll say you'll make an extra like $3,000 if you shoot someone with a legendary silenced pistol. And then you have to sort of decide, like, because you may have like paid like 20 grand for that pistol or something like that. And so then it's like, do you bring that in there, try to make that headshot and get the money? But I've actually recently, I've lost like 2 or 3 of them, just sort of bringing one in, messing up like a very easy mission. And so that's all. That used to be like more frustrating, but it's nice to get to a like more of a zen state where it's more, you sort of see things at like a higher level where it's all like risk and reward and nothing feels like a huge setback. It just feels like a learning experience. Like you sort of learn how much risk you should take on at different times.
Yeah. How long did it take you to be good enough to be able to like complete the whole campaign in one go?
I would guess like 100 hours. But that was maybe like it's possible like the first time I ever beat a campaign was probably like 100 hours in after because I had bought like after Freelancer came out, I started playing the whole trilogy and stuff. So then I played like the whole campaign, got into Freelancer, and I think I really struggled with, like, at the beginning it's so hard because you just rush in, you start shooting all the targets, and then you sort of realize like you can't do that because they'll start running, and then once they start running, all these like assassins group up around them, and any assassin will only take like one shot to kill you. So it's like you really have to identify the target and take them out first before any sort of panic starts. But that means that if you go into like a mission being like, oh yeah, I'll just bring like a good weapon and then just like shoot anyone that comes at me, it doesn't work in the showdowns, and you always end up like hitting the wrong person and getting like cheap killed by like an assassin. So then that was a big difficulty for me, was like the change of pace, like because I would like steamroll through every mission and then get to the showdowns and be like, okay, now I gotta like pull out my camera, take my time, watch I don't get seen, like all these. It's like a really slow down.
Yeah.
So it helps a bit with the app that narrows it down for me. I can just sort of run around, snap a few quick photos, and be reasonably sure. So that actually, I think that's a huge thing for me, is like, because it is not fun at all to like look for like an earring on one of the two ears of a suspect, and like their hair covers it, so it doesn't, so it like counts as an earring, but you visually can't see it, so you have to take a chance, and those missions are
Yeah.
so slow if you don't. But yeah, speeding it up a little bit makes it fun enough that now it actually feels like that was the final piece to make it like a fun game, was this this app that some random person has made that I paid like $2 for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I feel like that's a good innovation on top of like, yeah, whatever is missing from a game to make it fun, like adding it yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a really like, it's kind of fascinating, like uh just the way like you and Leah describe it, like the core Hitman game itself is like, really good and has all these pieces, and then just this freelancer game mode sort of like, mm, like takes full advantage of all the like immersive elements to make it like something
Yeah.
like even more like special.
Yeah, it's so fun. Like it's so fun to be like dropped into a level and just sort of open the map, see where the target is, see where you are, and then just sort of quickly trace like what you remember of the route you're planning, like from yourself to the target, and then sort of be thinking like, okay, like a guard is going to see me here, but he'll chase me down to here, and then I'll just like sort of outmaneuver him, or we'll be isolated so I can take his uniform, and then like then I'm good in this area, and then it's like when I take the target out, I'll try to just get a good shot, and then I'll be close to this exit, and it's fun to sort of just have that rough map, and then as you're like running down hallways, you're sort of scanning like, is there any random guards, looking in a different direction or something. uh and then yeah, sometimes you'll see like, oh, there's an opportunity like here, or you're thinking like, what's my money level, do I visit like the merchant guy, or then there's a
Hmm.
safe in every level, so you're like, a lot of times, oh, there's a spider on my wall I'll just have to deal with. Yeah, that was a large spider. Yeah, I'm good. I just had to hit a spider. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I
Nice. All
survived. I
good.
survived the spider.
Survived the spider attack.
Yeah, these, as the summer starts here, there's about once a week we see like spiders, uh, but they're all very like aim. Like none of them move very fast. None of them do anything. They're all just like very like almost like house flies, but they don't fly or anything. They're just like walking slowly on the wall. They don't dart anywhere. Uh,
Hmm.
So they're
Helpful.
luckily it's like very easy to deal with them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's helpful. Yeah. Yeah, we have I've started running again more after my big back issues, which has been really nice. For whatever reason, it's, like the dragonfly. I think it's dragonfly. I don't know. They're kind of like big, flying, incredibly fast bugs. like in our, just like in our neighborhood, kind of across the city, but particularly here, they're just like everywhere. They just get like pelted. Like it's like 2 or 3 times a run. Like one'll just like whack me in the head or something, and it's like,
Oh yeah, like fairly large, whatever they are, like
yeah,
flying bugs or
yeah,
something. Yeah.
always surprising.
Yeah, it's funny when like bugs, like we're not their predator or something, so they just like bounce off our head. Like they have no ability to avoid a full
Yeah,
moving person.
yeah. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I would think because I don't know if it's dragonflies. Like I've like the fun fact I've heard about them is that like scientists still don't really understand how they can possibly compute like the trajectories of like other like their prey fast enough that they can like
Right.
they sort of defy physics in terms of their computational power,
Hmm.
but yet they sort of run into me moving at not very fast.
One theory that we're large enough that they kind of assume we're like a wall or something, and then
Uh,
they're they almost assume we're like not moving, and then they just all they do is like maintain a certain distance. Because you know when sometimes you're like running and this fly like maintains a certain distance from you, kind of like stays ahead of you by a certain distance or something. Sometimes it's almost like they're just detecting like a wall and then like flying relative to us or something.
yeah, that's what I kind of like the sci-fi story where there's like the alien that comes to Earth and they're operating at a different speed, so they think like humans are just kind of like plants,
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
and are yeah, or like that to the dragonfly.
Started reading this book, Dungeon Crawler Carl.
Oh, I feel like I've heard of this. What is it? Like a
Science
isekai type thing or
science fiction.
dungeon crawler. Cool.
Yeah, I had,
How is it?
I like it so far. It definitely feels a bit like when I first encountered it in a store a while ago. It stood out. It sort of seemed like okay, this is like for teens, and I don't know. Like it mentions like the main character breaking up with their girlfriend as like the first thing on the back, and I was like, oh, it's like kind of like a teen story with some elements like that. Uh, but then it was getting like good reviews, and people were saying it's good, and so then I started reading it, and it's reminding me of like a little bit of like the Hitchhiker's Galaxy kind of humor, where like right off the start, there's like an alien race that is like superior to Earth that's kind of like doing some Hitchhiker's Guide esque, like sort of like in the Hitchhiker's Guide, you know how they get notified like Earth is getting destroyed to build the hyperspace bypass or something because like Earth missed some deadline. Uh,
Hmm.
then this is like similar, like that's how it sort of starts, not in that way, but like in a different way. The aliens are just notifying Earth of something, and uh, but then it's sort of like a little bit. It feels like is this gonna? It's like you can't really tell. Is it gonna be like a hand wavy story where just like everything aligns so that the plot can be delivered? But it feels like believable enough that uh, like is it sort of like on one hand you're like, well, these aliens, like they even commented on the book. They're like, the stuff that's happening seems like basically like magic to like current technologically like our current day technology. The stuff that's happening in the book is just like pure magic. And so they even say that in the book. They're like, yeah, just advanced technology is basically like magic. And then you sort of wonder, like, but if they have that technology, what are they even doing? And but then it's sort of uh, they sort of answer that because uh, like basically this dungeon crawler Carl, like he's in a dungeon, he's running a dungeon, and he sort of gets told like it's also like a reality TV show for these like aliens, and then that actually that actually like gets me very interested in the story because it's sort of it's telling like the story of like an alien corporation like monetizing like Earth as like the inferior culture, and especially since like I read Doppelganger, like the previous book, it
Yeah.
I'm like primed to think of that in terms of like it's like, oh, these aliens are like colonizing Earth, and the way they're extracting value is by making Earth into like a reality like TV show dungeon crawler. uh and it's like that's totally and they're like using these like alien law loopholes to like sort of make it an accepted practice like in the in the galaxy. And uh
Uh-huh.
it's sort of like, yeah, it's exactly kind of now almost like a future prediction. Like, is this even sci-fi? You know, it's like that's what
Yeah.
corporations like would just do if they had sufficient technology.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fun premise. Yeah, there's a comic that just started that I think, yeah, I think is not quite up my alley, but it has like a very similar like the guy do you know the I think he was in the recent Superman movie, the anti-hero slash villain Lobo. Um,
Uh, I watched that Superman movie.
yeah, I didn't end up watching it because
Oh,
I
he
heard
was
it
in the
wasn't very
prison or
good. But
something.
what's that?
I was trying to think of where a character like that would appear, like the prison or something.
Oh, it was the sorry, the Supergirl movie that just came out.
Oh no, yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
didn't see that.
yeah, but yeah, I feel like no one really saw it. But, yeah, played by the Aquaman guy who's really famous. Uh, I'm blanking on his name, but anyway, he's just like a space mercenary guy who's like sort of a parody character. But there's a new comic with him where like these aliens sort of semi force him, but into like just doing reality TV and going around like the galaxy and like yeah, that's how they. Uh, I don't know. It's sort of this like meta commentary on like um, him as a character, I guess. And yeah, I think the humor sort of just doesn't quite work as much. But this sounds very good. I like I'm a real sucker for like this lit RPG genre in general.
Yeah.
um,
It's the first time I encountered that actually. I was a bit surprised. Like he gets into the dungeon in real life, and then they sort of start giving him his like stats in exactly the same way that like I recently did a learn to play D&D night, and so I was given like
oh,
my
cool.
character stats. And so these are, yeah, it's clearly like the stats are just like it's like literally like, you know, he can like open his D&D menu in reality as like, you know, part of the dungeon experience and see like literally like
Yeah,
a, you know, a certain intelligence value and stuff. And then yeah, it's like he can level up, he will do more damage to mobs like when he's a higher level. uh and I was surprised to see because it's almost like they're now just assuming like breeder, which could be a teen or could be anyone, just knows enough about like what a video game is, like whether or not they know about D&D, they know how to intake the rules of a video game and how they should just think about that new, like whatever they're told, like your character has a level, it has this stats, you have these items. Like kids are just used to having an inventory now. So it's kind of interesting to see like an author just directly writing like an inventory system into the
yeah,
story in like especially in reality, and then being like, oh yeah, these aliens are just like making it like that. And they even kind of say like some of the ways you like the dungeon has been customized for the Earth like culture planet. So like because Earth had video games and dungeons, like that's why the dungeon is made like this on your planet, so you can sort of understand how to interface with the dungeon and the rules and stuff is all like customized that way. And it's such an interesting kind of meta thing where it's like I was recommending it to like my parents and stuff, and I bet they'll find it a little bit hard to follow like what exactly the situation is because they haven't played so many games where you're just sort of given like inventory stats and then just left to
Yeah.
like do some kind of thing with that. Yeah.
Yeah, it does feel like I can't imagine people without some of that like video game playing background would connect with the genre as much, but yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
They even have
I,
loot. Like there's one part where he like gets a loot box and like opens it, and
uh-huh.
it's like a bronze loot box, and then he has a gold loot box. And this is like fairly early on. Like it's like right away the story is like, yeah, he's like in the dungeon and just like in reality it's like popping up achievements and giving him like loot boxes, and then he goes to like a tutorial room, and uh it feels like this is like the intro to this story is like just like sort of just the same thing you'd experience when you start a video game, and like just not not asking questions about like uh but that's what it feels a little bit janky because it's like this is supposed to be like reality in the story, and so how like these loot boxes are just like appearing in front of him, and obviously that's the aliens like making that happen. But yeah, so that's why it's like I but it feels, yeah, now that I'm like, I don't know, not even that many pages in, I feel like it's doing a good job of making it feel like one could imagine like a superior alien race that has this motivation, that has this technology, that is using it for this or whatever.
Right. Yeah, it's sort of a yeah, it makes the yeah, less like dissonance with the with uh, the story. Yeah, I'm just looking on Goodreads for like best lit RPG books, and this is number one. Um, I'm like 100%, not quite 100, but close that my brother has read this because he at some point he just got super addicted to this genre to the point where he it was basically all he read, and I think it's probably still true, but he read all the like sort of relatively well written ones like that sold well. Um, and I read a bunch of them too with him and enjoyed it. But then he just like he would be like reading like first draft like on like fan forums for people that have like never written before like like really just like not super well written stuff, but he was just
What's
like
interesting
totally
is that
addicted.
it seems like it's basically like that's what a DM is, right? Like a DM is writing
uh
a story and not an author. And
yes,
people are just like people
yeah,
are live improving a story. And so it's like one step removed where if you just had like a random player or DM like write up their experience, essentially that's what you're reading is just like someone, but it's like it's almost like the D&D rule system is a story generator. And so if you just use it to generate a story, you get like a D&D story, and everything that happens is just at a dice roll, it's sort of just what happened or something. It's kind of almost like a if there's if it's not like climactic or something, then it's almost like a slice of life anime by D&D rules in some way. And that's just
right.
kind of it's it's interesting how there's such a spectrum. Like everything is like a the whole like it's like we started with like different cultural like nodes, but now all the nodes are being connected. Like games are movies and uh
Mm,
like show, yeah, it's just like game, movie, show, book, D&D, improv,
yeah.
it's all like one
Yeah.
just continuous line. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good insight. Like, yeah, I feel like in particular, like maybe just from, you know, thinking about video games more, but I definitely see it with video games sort of like, for lack of a better word, like infecting like all like these other genres slowly but surely. Because like it was like weird like that for like whatever the stats around like, well, like video games like by I don't know sales or whatever are like way bigger than like other genres, but they just like are not in pop culture as much. But now
Yeah.
that's like becoming less true. Like it's sort of like taking over, or like maybe like the the powers that be in like the other industries are sort of noticing that and bringing it in more. But uh,
Yeah, actually a parallel I never thought of was how like our generation was given so many different video games and we're like sort of expecting like a new video game with a new story and characters a lot and new graphics. But then you have like the whole Roblox like Minecraft generations that play like only a single game and then play
mm,
variations inside of it. And that's almost like how I imagine like as TV started, you would have all these different like television shows and like every movie was from a different director and different concept and you never knew what was going to be like the next movie and new
mm,
special effects. But then you had like some dominant like sitcoms like take over, and then a lot of shows just followed that exact same template for like a whole generation. And that's almost like in the same way that like a whole generation just had like Friends, Seinfeld, and giant Big Bang Theory. Like that was like the one template for a show was like characters in a room like with some relationship and laugh track, and then like someone says something, laugh track. Like it was sort of like every show became one show, which was just like the Seinfeld experience or something. Uh,
yeah,
and yeah, and that's almost like what's it's almost like the next like they figured out like video games have been unfortunately like reduced to like a single like Roblox-esque experience and then variations of that. And then we have to sort of grow beyond, we have to like break out of that. Like hopefully that's what's happening with like there's now independent film, maybe independent games are also right behind that where and we already yeah, I guess we're seeing that already. So hopefully we can just stay ahead of it with like new groundbreaking independent films and games and not get like not have like corporate culture make the same movie and video game for like 20 years or something.
yeah. It does feel like, and it's also like feel like there's some sort of feedback loop with like broader like societal stuff. Well, I guess there's like the direct thing of like all these mergers and um like media capture and all that, but I feel like it's also like it sort of makes sense that people got into the superhero stuff when they did, and now, and it also makes sense that now people are kind of tired of it. Like, it like it tracks, I guess, like culturally, and
Yeah.
yeah, I think feel like people are like looking for just like new things, like either like hopeful things or things that feel a little more honest or challenging. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting, but then I guess also like, yeah, like Fortnite and the Mario movies and those types of things do sell like the best of everything. So maybe that's like there's two things happening at once there. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Are you still I just remembered your do you still have your class today?
No, yeah, that ended.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
You just did yeah, because I guess yeah, we didn't talk for a couple
Yeah, we did
weeks.
like some shorter, like 30 minutes, then we skipped a couple.
Gotcha.
But yeah, no.
Nice.
Yeah, I ended up focusing on like number of syllables and I sort of advanced my knowledge a bit where like now I can sort of count like the number of syllables per line, but I also realize that sometimes like it doesn't sound right if you break like a word up. Like some words should be said kind of together, and if you break them up on like two beats, they don't sound good. And then there's like just after you sort of count all the syllables and you figure out like how many syllables you can sort of say in a line before it becomes like too cumbersome, then it's interesting. It gets like very subjective after that, where you then have to just pick like words that do sound good or find interesting ways to like say the syllables. And but then it gets really hard to like perform the music. So I sort of hit like a point of diminishing return. But I also realized if I pick some kind of content that everyone's from like the audience of the song is familiar with, then all I have to do is like write lyrics that clearly relate to the thing that the audience knows, and then I feel like that's the effect that I'm looking for, is like the song should make them recall the moments that I found interesting or they found interesting. And so then it sort of, with like I think with my style it comes down to like pit like the thing that I pick and the audience that it's for needs to be like part of the same like they all have to have the same like ideas or like have seen the same movie or the same game or whatever in order for it to be like an interesting song.
Yeah, like those, I feel like those moments of like recognition, like, are what hit the hardest, or like, you know, make make me smile, like hearing like yeah, like the song, like, oh, like I know what they're talking about, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. And like being able to do that with a song where you're like talking like fairly fast, like one thing after the other, is like while having like good flow. Yeah, that's really a challenge. Are
Yeah,
you
actually
gonna make more songs coming up?
I'm debating I'll try to get a song into my next Minhacks game in October is probably what I'll do next. And but I don't know if I don't think I want that to be the focus. I'll try to like make an interesting overall game. I was thinking of a couple different ideas because like they just did their episode that released today or whatever with the like 53 things that are always fun in games. And so I guess like the obvious challenge is like try to get all of those into a game. Uh,
Yeah.
and so I was playing around with different ideas because I feel like it would be very fun to have a game that's like a bunch of different vignettes, like different moments of min-max content that would just be funny to sort of have in a little 3D environment in a game. Like one of them is when they went camping, they cooked like spam on the fire and it was just like a block of spam. But there's a moment where they all team up like they're three hot dogs and they push the spam to like get it to flip over. And I thought it would be fun to just have like a little vignette where like you control one of the hot dogs and you're like helping push the spam like to flip over. Uh,
That's
but then I
good.
thought like the other thing that happened was like everyone liked that 007 First Light, like the training montage. So I sort of
Mm.
thought like what if you had like a training montage, but like one of the things was like flipping the spam and then like some other min-max scenario. Uh, but then there's even like there's the tax sim in 007. You have like a tax sim, which is kind of like a VR room that he goes into, and that's where you do like the one-off like training missions that you can replay. So I thought like, could I make like a little tax sim room and then pretend like you're jumping between different like min-max content things? Uh, or
Yeah,
then
those are
like
very good
I like the
ideas.
art gallery, like art gallery format in general as well.
Hmm.
And I was doing experiments with like I figured out how to put like a sort of a nice like subtle texture on walls, and it is cool to have like the like if you make the skybox black and you make like any like even like a really long bar light or any sort of any shape with like an emissive texture, if you bake the lighting it will glow like onto the surrounding area. And that's an effect that I really like, is like various objects that are glowing in order to light the environment,
Mm.
because I feel like I can make a cool
Yeah.
environment. Yeah.
They just added that with, I think, like I forget what it's called, like Area Light 3D node or something. Um,
Yeah, those ones, I imagine anything dynamic is like super expensive in web. Like when your
Right.
game, yeah. So that's what I learned was like if you have a single light, your game will like lag when it loads, and you can't even detect when it's done loading. So like essentially, the only way to have like zero load time is like everything is baked or something like that. I don't know
Uh-huh.
exactly. Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
sort
that
of
makes sense.
yeah. But I sort of like the lighting in order to create like nice looking gradients of color like on the walls. And I don't really care about realistic shadows or anything unless like if I do a campfire, maybe I'll have like one dynamic light. But if it turns on, like if you're like running in a hallway towards the next thing and then it turns the light on, if there's like lag in the hallway for like a second as that the light gets turned on, I feel like that would be manageable.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's a interesting. Yeah, I feel like I don't think about performance enough in terms of like
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just thinking for like the game I've been working on, like trying to do all these like performance optimizations just to make it like reasonable on desktop. I'm like, yeah, like would love if it could be playable on web, like
Hmm.
and to do that, I think I mean I just haven't really tested it to do
Yeah, I
yeah
wish there was like a
lighting other
very, I
things.
wish you could just tell it like preload everything, like just show a loading bar, but and like take as it's like
Hmm.
the game could take as long as it needs as long as everything is loaded, but it doesn't. Web seems to not really by default be able to like kind of know that, or at
Yeah,
least what I've seen. Yeah.
yeah, tricky.
Yeah, I had an idea too that because often I think like I'll see areas with like highways and stuff, and then I think like if you took away the highways, you added some more stuff and put like bridges over the roads, you could make like a nice walkable area, like a 15-minute city. And so I was thinking like how I was trying to think how hard would it be to like take a small like a couple blocks of like Seattle that are maybe like I would just like block out each building and stuff with rectangles, but sort of have like one maybe I'll do like the Space Needle for like that's probably too large, but like I would want some kind of way to communicate that like this is a known part of like the Seattle city. And then I would like swap out a couple buildings and like make one an apartment or something. And and then sort of like I would have to scope that so that I would actually be able to like build some geometry that the player could like walk through and like I could sort of build at least like the front of like a grocery store, for example, and I could show like there's like a bunch of single family homes and just show like replace them all with like an apartment building, make a park, and that would be more challenging because I'm not good with like the sky boxes and making like nice vistas. But if I could figure out something, it would be kind of cool to like transform a piece of a city into something that you could like walk around and sort of appreciate like how walkable because you could do fun stuff like you could just be sort of like the game is no more than 15 minutes, but within 15 minutes you can clearly walk from like a decent apartment that's affordable past like grocery stores and all the stores and things you would need in your daily life. You could just sort of get that experience of like, oh yeah, everything's walkable, and you could hop on like a train and go for like a ride to a few different areas like maybe those would all be fake, like you couldn't get out of the train, but then it would sort of communicate like what I want, which is, you can just walk around and that's an exciting thing. And what if we just tweaked a couple things so that reality was like that?
Right, right. Yeah, I think
But that
yeah,
seems
it's
a
like
bit, yeah, a bit like
it's a good way
ambitious.
to yeah, definitely ambitious. But yeah, I think it's a cool idea. Like show through like play, uh, yeah, a different version of how like a real place could be. Um, yeah.
Oh yeah, and for that I invented, maybe I invented this. I don't know if it exists. It's like I would call it like cyberpunk brutalist architecture.
Uh-huh.
Which in my mind, yeah, it's like brutalist architecture, but with like fluorescent lights on it, which I think should that's got to exist somewhere because like, but that's definitely like that leans right into my capabilities. Like I can do like axis aligned rectangles that are very like brutalist in their shape and like concrete, solid colors, but then have just like a lot of fluorescent lights sort of like tracing the lines and different angles like on the surface of them. Uh, but that I was very excited by like that, like thinking like, oh yeah, if you're walking through like a space and that's the style of the architecture is like fluorescently illuminated, like brutalist stuff. That sounds actually pretty cool and very like reasonable to do in Blender.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, it's like this has got to exist, but yeah, I feel like yeah, when I think about like cyberpunk stuff, it is often like not very brutalist, but I guess I haven't. Yeah, I don't know. Like I haven't played like
Yeah.
Cyberpunk 77 or anything, so I don't
Maybe
know.
it's kind of like it's like the style of like German like music clubs, like when they like buy like an old like even there's a Hitman level
Hmm.
in Berlin. It's like an old factory and then they just make it into a music like stage and then the lighting is like it's a dark environment with lights and then it's just by what it was like it's if they leave some of the old machinery there and stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, that is appealing. Yeah, yeah. I feel like the like looking at a city stuff, like I want to do like something around like something that illuminates like seeing a place from different perspectives and different times. Like, uh, yeah, like what this place could sort of mean to, like the people that were originally colonized, or like what it looks like to someone who's like just trying to get to work, or like what does it look like, uh, to someone who doesn't have a home and there's these massive towers or whatever, or like an animal, like I feel like there's like some version of that that I want to try to express, but it is very difficult because it's like both like I don't know, like I don't want to uh like represent um something like that I don't
Yeah.
experience necessarily. And then I just also I'm not like a skilled 3D artist, so just like even like just like on a base level, like 3D art's just like kind of hard. But yeah, I don't know. That's the thing that I've been yeah, sort of similar to your idea, exploring.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough thing. Yeah, trying to like tell the story that kind of gets at like the voice of other people and not be like telling it for them or whatever. It would be yeah, it's
Right.
interesting. Yeah, for that sort, it's like you'd have to pick you'd have to pick like the right place that does have all those different ways of looking at it, like naturally that people would sort of understand, and then like abstract it a little bit so that it's not like offense, like it's not directly portraying any sort of group.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah, like
but
not
it would that
speaking
does
for
yeah
anybody, but just sort of like
yeah
here's what I see, and the things that viewpoints I've think about, without like yeah, but yeah, it's a fine line, I think.
yeah that is an interesting idea though, because yeah, even for like it reminds me of like sometimes I'll be like walking on a path and for whatever reason like I never end up like sitting on a bench and just like sitting there, but then if I force myself to do that, like you sit down on a bench and you look out at like a stream or something, and then like pretty rapidly you start to notice like more and more details until you quickly reach that point where you're like, oh, I should do this more often. uh
Mm,
and it's sort of like, but then you think like you could do that at any bench anywhere, and then it's like, wow, like there's so much detail that we like glaze over even just walking. But then to think like people are like driving by on a road thinking like, oh, they're getting the gist of the area by like glancing out the window as they like fly by, that it's like certainly they're not. And even like on a bike you're going, it's like too fast, you can't stop. And like even walking I don't stop. And then but then yeah, even like sitting on the bench it's like, but I couldn't like survive here. But then you have like, you know, an unhoused person like struggling to survive there. Like you'll always in the woods and stuff, you'll see like traces of like people trying to like live or whatever. And then you have like animals that are actually living there, and that's all taking place. Like you could sort of pick any sort of like a road beside a bike trail, beside a bench, beside like a pond with animals, beside like a forest. That's the only difficult part is like how do you portray like a human in the forest, or like a not like a, you know, a native person that suddenly like that's too specific of like a group that you'd want to be like careful with. But
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
how if you could figure out a way to like just kind of, because you I don't know, you could set it on like a clearly like an alien planet or something and tell the story of some researcher, and like they can drive their moon rover and they sort of be like, yeah, I pretty much figured like map the planet with this moon rover. And then one time it breaks down and they sort of realize like, wait, there's more like depth here and it's also like not easy to survive. And then maybe they need someone who is surviving, and but then they like they witness, then you sort of like take on the consciousness of an animal or something, or become an animal, so like eat a plant that makes you like an animal, I don't know. And then suddenly like you're like, wait, this is a fine place to live like as an animal.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah, it's yeah, I think that's definitely a good way. I feel like a lot of like sci-fi does that where it's like through yeah, like you can like the book you like sort of by having the setting be not Earth, like it just gives a little more leeway to explore ideas,
Yeah.
like running into the actual histories of place, which can always be like a lot trickier. Um, but yeah, I feel like there's like the other, like, you know, if there's certain stories I want to like would want to tell, but feel like it's like I have like the viewpoint to do that skillfully, like that could, you know, force me to just like seek different collaborators, you know, and like probably that's like good for me too.
Yeah.
Though challenging. But,
That would be a
yeah.
pretty interesting. It always feels so scary to like take on a collaborator, but you definitely see
Yeah.
artists. Yeah, artists do that. Like they consult somehow with the actual people. It is weird too. Like it's a very interesting space to navigate. Sort of like obviously like our assumptions about other people are like incorrect, but they still like that is our story. You know, like the story of us making wrong assumptions, we can just tell that story and just be upfront with like, this is my experience, it's bias, it's incorrect, but here's the story of just me like saying what I think about these other people. But I guess that like I guess the harmful thing is because you can't, once you release that, you can't control the fact that it kind of, no matter what you do, it looks like you're describing these other people in a way that could be misleading to someone who doesn't read like the all the nuance or whatever, the disclaimer. But then but I wonder like, you know, if you actually talk to like an authority on the other people, that would be an interesting experience. Like you know, sort of make a draft or something, and then whatever like edits they make to it, like whatever tweak, the ways they tweak it, would be interesting to see. Like because then that's actually the moment where we'd learn like, it's like, you know, that moment where you're like, oh, I didn't even think about that, but they correct something. And then it would, that's like actually like we made an assumption that we didn't think about and was wrong, and then they correct it, and then we learn. That's actually an interesting, that would be like the moment to get to, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like Yeah, and it's like I feel like it's a tricky thing. I think like writers talk about it a lot, like because I think it's very common to like hire like sensitivity readers. I think it's called.
Hmm.
Um, like uh, yeah, they always say like yeah, like there are these like sensitivity readers, and like sometimes choosing whether they want to be named, but it's like also like no can speak for an entire group of people, like and whoever
Yeah.
any and also like any mistakes or like things that misrepresentations are my own, like don't blame the sensitivity reader.
Yeah, I wonder. I assume they did whatever, but like that story of like Horizon or whatever, it's like a story of people fighting robot dinosaurs.
Oh yeah.
I guess that's in some way like that's kind of portraying like people living in the woods hunting animals in a way that is could be seen as like it's like co-opting that culture, the cultures on earth that actually did that or do that.
Hmm.
And I wonder if like in terms of like the face paintings, the jewelry, the attire, that's
Yeah, that's a great
that's
point.
all. Yeah, it's like you could easily just go on Google Images and pull that from some culture unknowingly and then insult them. And how would you like you'd have to bring in someone, but you'd be like, yeah, you from whatever like tribe, I want you to consult on this like video game where they fight robot dinosaurs. And they're like, well, that's not what we did. We didn't fight robot dinosaurs. And you're like, no, I know, but like you're like a guy who lives in the woods, right? So like you should be like a good consultant. It's like
Yeah,
how do you
kind of
like pull
shitty.
how do you pull those groups together?
Yeah, yeah, that's real. Yeah, and it's kind of like, yeah, I feel like even that, it's like a thing that I haven't thought about before, but now that you say it, it's like, yeah, I'm sure
Yeah.
that, I feel like it casts the whole
Yeah, because what do
series
you
in a
do? Yeah, you're like,
interpretive light.
yeah, it's like we're gonna dress our characters like you, and they're like, well, that's offensive. It's like, okay, well, then help us dress them not like you. It's like, dude, it's like I see what's happening.
Yeah, yeah, good
But I
points.
wonder, like making, because yeah, it's like that game clearly somehow it's not problem doesn't feel problematic at all. No one's like mentioned it. I've only heard it mentioned that when they have done like different people have done like glow ups of the main character to make them look like they're wearing makeup or something, and then people found that was offensive because it's like
Mm,
they're not wearing makeup, they're like living outside or something.
yeah, yeah, interesting.
Yeah, someone it would be
Yeah.
cool. I always when I think of these things, I always wish there's like a 10-minute YouTube video that would just give me like a frame of reference to think about this stuff in terms of almost like identifying what counts as like personal lived experience and what is infringing on someone else's culture in a way that is not like fair to them unless you give it like a once over by them so they can say what how you're like if you're sort of like almost like monetizing someone else's culture, you need to make sure you're not like uh doing it in a harmful way or something.
Yeah, yeah, definitely the monetizing is like, yeah, I want to be really careful, but it's like, yeah, I feel like it's things there's definitely no easy answer. Like, yeah, I mean, I feel like maybe it's just like not talked about in video games as much. Writer, some writers that I like talk about. Yeah, it actually is like one of the hardest things about like,
Mm.
uh, and that's just like the part of the job, sort of, is like trying to do that well. And yeah, it's like yeah, it makes sense for writers like that are trying to tell complex stories with like many different viewpoints and types of people, and it's like no one person can hold every single identity. That's impossible. So it's like yeah, it is just like a massive challenge that no one gets completely
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, it's a cool space. Yeah, now like the world's so like welcoming of different experiences and trying to be like sensitive. It's interesting to like our generation was not like born into a world that had that all that stuff. So it's evolving, but we're like lucky that we're adapt like somewhat flexible to it. But it's fascinating to think like like we're inventing like new kinds of experiences that people are like coming forward with in terms of the way they think or whatever. And it's interesting to try to just always be adapting like to what is the next like the framework is very fluid and flexible in terms of how we like just the way we're wanting to categorize people, but also not like just leave the categories very open to whoever wants to label themselves or not label themselves in whatever way. But then yeah, we're always we just have so many things where we want like these binary options, uh but then can't have them. But then it's like, how do you organize things if any sort of organization is like not including someone? It's kind of a fascinating like challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think for art in particular, it's like, yeah, it's like kind of the whole thing of like, I guess not the whole thing, but it gets to like the core of like what the point of art is like
Hmm.
trying to
Yeah.
reconcile the complexities and the yeah. Um, yeah, there's a like uh, this quote from there's like this movement organization, like a political entity, um, the Zapatistas that are sort of this like anarchist group that like um, in this region of Mexico, uh, and I have this one quote that I oh nice, I found it. A little long, but it's like basically like uh, I just found like really like comforting like because there was I guess they had like one person, one member of their group, like a writer or something, uh, was like being outed gay,
Oh,
and
yeah.
and their sort of response to this like quote unquote accusation is they just said like, yes, Marcos is gay. Marcos is gay in San Francisco, back in South Africa, an Asian in Europe, Chicano in San Eustro, an anarchist in Spain, a Palestinian in Israel, a Mayan Indian in the streets of San Cristobal, a Jew in Germany, and then it just like goes on and on.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, and then yeah, it's like Marcos is all the exploited, marginalized, oppressed minorities resisting and saying enough. Um, and yeah, the quote goes on, but it's like I feel like it's just like a powerful sort of framing, um,
Yeah,
like this view
it,
from below. Yeah.
it's impressive somehow that like people get to a point where they're able to, whether it's just listing it off the top of their mind or like research or like putting together a statement, like they can group all those things together. And like some of them I've heard about, and then like there's always like some on the list that are like a thing I have was not taught like in history or didn't know about. And it's interesting to me that like some people, they sort of know about all the injustices that happened, or like even were part of some of the groups that happened to it, and they like exist in today's world and they're able to like function at a high level in society. And like whether they make movies or they have whatever role in society, you'll sort of stumble upon them, hear their message, and it's just kind of mind-blowing that it's like someone is like that, like I sort of feel like I'm generally aware of like who's being exploited in a high level sense, but then some people are like right into the details, like they know everything, and then it's sort of like baffling where it's uh like they're like so read into the situation and able to like speak on it, uh but then at the same time it's always like it's like and it still is not like moving things in a way that we'd really want them to be like progressing. And that's always interesting to see like how like precise and like nuanced people are, and like well written. Like Naomi Klein is also like well written in this doppelganger book, and it's like someone wrote that book, and I'm like reading it right now, and we're still in this like situation where like the book is
Yeah.
also literally like the book does a great job of being like recursive in a way where it's like the book is about how hard it is to escape our own selves in some way without like realizing like we're the enemy too, like ourselves are the enemy, we're fighting against ourselves, and that means we're fighting against ourselves. Like we're not going to beat ourselves. It's just what
Uh-huh.
it is. And but then it's like but we clearly know what we did was wrong, or whatever, what's wrong and right in a way that's more accurate than like what we see in terms of the decisions that are made. And that's something I want to like tap into. Like I just watched a quick video about like I guess they figured out like who the name of the person who is Banksy, but then a lot of people are like rebelling against that and refusing to like learn the name. Like the video I watched,
Oh,
they're
that's
like
funny.
yeah, like I watched an entire like 45-minute video where at the beginning they're like we're going to tell you everything except we're not going to say the actual name that they found because out of like to make a point. Like they're like, we shouldn't know the name. He's supposed to be anonymous, so we're gonna like not say it. That's the only name you
Uh-huh.
won't know in this video. But then they'll say the whole other like his other background and stuff.
That's funny.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it turns out in that video I just realized like Banksy is like pretty on the ball. Like he like any of the like the Ukraine war, the Palestinian war, he's like been there and been at risk to go there and like do graffiti that is also like
Yeah.
quite an impressive like piece of art, and there's risk to himself and uh the forethought, like he changed his name at least once, and it seems like there's a whole like kind of way that they're considering like it's very intentionally anonymous, and the different acts they've done is quite like forward thinking. It's like they're really outsmarting the system in a way that uh I wish like society could kind of keep up with the train of thought that's going on there, because it's sort of
Uh-huh.
it's always just like impressive, and it's like I wish the bar of society was higher. Uh, but yeah,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I feel like there's someone who, yeah, yeah, sort of uses. Yeah, I remember, yeah, reading like this whole piece on like the graffiti on the like apartheid wall,
yeah,
where it was like, yeah, it was really interesting and like different perspectives on it. But I think, yeah, I mean, yeah, I remember feeling pretty impressed
yeah. In the
overall.
video, they said he did that, and like they're like the Israelis like fired like a warning shot when he was doing
Mm,
it, and that really puts it into perspective of like it's like yeah, a guy doing art and like a warning shot, and that being like his like he would have known that would happen in some regard, and sort of
yeah,
to like go there with I think he was with another, well at least when he went to the Ukraine he was with like a photojournalist that had been like wounded in a previous like
mm,
mission to just take photos or something. And uh yeah, it's like there's people that are very intentionally like, and it's almost like putting themselves in harm's way to do the thing, and risking it a little bit is like part of the installation. Like it draws attention to the art, to the action, and then it shows you like yeah, like who's like we're firing warning shots, like the like for the it's almost like the artist invoked them to fire a warning shot, which is part of the message that he's trying to make, which is like why is that part of just drawing on a wall, uh it's all very like uh
yeah.
like well thought out in like a tragic way or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like some way uh, like a bullet is as material as it gets in the world, but it's also like, yeah, even that could, yeah, you sort of managed to make part of the um yeah, part of the art. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good. I'm gonna head out and I'm getting some gelato later, so I'll head
Nice.
out.
Cool. Well,
Yeah.
good talking to you. Yeah, I'm actually
Yeah. Good.
I think I'll be gone next week on a little family vacation, but yeah, I'll talk to you in 2 weeks if you're around.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Cool.
All right.
See ya.
Bye.